One elegant woman walked into lavish embassy parties wearing expensive dresses, sparkling jewelry, and a warm smile. To diplomats, she was charming. To ambassadors, she was unforgettable. To powerful military officers, she was irresistible. No one suspected that every smile, every dance, and every romantic dinner was part of a carefully planned intelligence operation. She didn't carry a gun. She didn't sneak across enemy borders under the cover of darkness. Her greatest weapon wasn't violence. It was trust. During World War II, while armies fought across Europe, this extraordinary woman quietly entered the homes, and even the bedrooms, of some of the Axis powers' most powerful officials. What they believed were private moments became some of the biggest intelligence victories of the war. Locked safes were opened. Secret naval codes disappeared. Highly classified military documents were photographed overnight and returned before sunrise. The men involved never realized they had been outplayed. Her code name was Cynthia. To British intelligence, she became one of the most valuable spies of World War II. To history, she remains one of the boldest female intelligence agents ever recruited. But the biggest mystery isn't what she stole. It's how one woman convinced some of the world's most powerful men to hand over their nation's greatest secrets willingly. And her most dangerous mission would change the course of the war itself. Long before she became one of Britain's most valuable secret agents, Amy Elizabeth Thorpe appeared destined for a life of privilege rather than danger. She was born in 1910 into a wealthy American family. Her childhood was comfortable. Elegant homes, private education, high society. Nothing suggested she would one day become a spy whose missions could influence the outcome of World War II. As Amy grew older, one quality made her impossible to ignore. She possessed extraordinary charm. She was intelligent, confident, and effortlessly graceful. People naturally trusted her. Men admired her almost instantly. She understood how to hold a conversation, read emotions, and make others feel important, skills that would later become far more valuable than any weapon. Her life changed after she married British diplomat Arthur Pack. The marriage opened the doors to a world few people ever experienced. Embassies, diplomatic receptions, private dinners with generals, conversations between ambassadors. Behind crystal chandeliers and expensive wine, world leaders casually discussed politics, military strategy, and international affairs. Amy listened carefully. She realized that some of history's biggest secrets weren't hidden inside bunkers. They were spoken over dinner tables. When World War II erupted, Britain faced a terrifying challenge. German forces were advancing across Europe. Italian and Vichy French officials possessed naval codes and classified communications that could cost thousands of Allied lives. British intelligence desperately needed someone who could enter places where trained spies had no access. Someone who looked completely harmless. Someone sophisticated enough to move among diplomats without raising suspicion. That person was Amy. British intelligence officers approached her quietly. They knew exactly what made her special. It wasn't simply her beauty. It was her ability to earn trust. According to historical accounts, Amy agreed to help Britain, believing Nazi expansion had to be stopped. From that moment forward, she was given a codename that would become legendary inside intelligence circles. Cynthia. Her first assignments seemed surprisingly simple. À temps parti. Build friendships. Observe conversations. Remember names. Notice routines. Who drank too much? Who talked too freely? Who carried important keys? Every tiny detail mattered. But as she proved herself, her missions became increasingly dangerous. Soon, she wasn't just gathering information. She was being asked to obtain secrets locked behind embassy doors. Secrets protected by steel safes. Secrets that, if discovered in her possession, would almost certainly mean execution. And her very first major target was an embassy that no ordinary spy had ever managed to penetrate. The target wasn't a battlefield. It wasn't a military base. It wasn't even a government ministry. It was the Italian embassy in Washington. Behind its elegant walls sat one of the most valuable military secrets of the war, the Italian naval cipher system. Every coded message sent between the Italian Navy and its commanders depended on those codebooks. If Britain could obtain them, Allied naval forces could predict enemy movements across the Mediterranean. If they failed, thousands of sailors could die. British intelligence had tried before. Nothing worked. Then they turned to Cynthia. She didn't arrive carrying lockpicking tools or explosives. She arrived wearing an evening gown. At diplomatic receptions, she slowly became acquainted with influential Italian officials. She laughed at their jokes. She danced. She listened more than she spoke. Most importantly, she made them believe they were in control. One senior embassy employee became especially captivated by her. Historical accounts suggest that through a carefully cultivated romantic relationship, Cynthia gradually earned his complete trust. Weeks turned into months. The relationship grew closer, but her true objective had never changed. She wasn't after his affection. She wanted access. Finally, an opportunity appeared. One evening, embassy security was unusually relaxed. The official she had cultivated agreed to let her into the building after hours. What he didn't know, British intelligence officers were waiting nearby. As soon as they entered, Cynthia distracted him while covert operatives slipped inside another office. Time was running out. Locked inside a secure safe were the naval codebooks Britain desperately needed. Professional safecrackers got to work. Every passing minute increased the risk that embassy guards would discover the operation. The room was silent except for the faint metallic clicks coming from the safe. Then, the door opened. Inside were the documents they had spent months trying to reach. Agents worked at incredible speed, photographing every page before carefully returning everything exactly as it had been found. Nothing appeared disturbed. No alarm sounded. By sunrise, the embassy staff had no idea one of the greatest intelligence victories of the war had just taken place inside their own building. Those photographs proved invaluable. According to historians, the intelligence gathered from operations like this helped Allied commanders better understand Axis naval communications during a critical stage of the war. But Cynthia wasn't finished. British intelligence now believed she could accomplish something even more ambitious. This time, the target wasn't Italy. It was Vichy France. And what they wanted next could influence the entire Battle of the Atlantic. The success of the Italian operation stunned British intelligence. Very few agents could get close to high-ranking diplomats. Even fewer could walk away without leaving a single trace. But Cynthia had done exactly that. Instead of disappearing into the shadows, she returned to embassy receptions as if nothing had happened. No one suspected a thing. Her confidence grew. So did the trust placed in her by British intelligence. Soon a new mission arrived, and this one carried even greater consequences. The target was officials connected to Vichy France, the government that collaborated with Nazi Germany after France fell in 1940. Although officially neutral in many situations, Vichy officials still possessed valuable military and naval communications that Britain desperately wanted to read. If those codes could be obtained, Allied commanders would gain an enormous strategic advantage. Once again, Cynthia was chosen. Her assignment wasn't to steal documents by force. It was to become someone people naturally wanted to be around. She attended elegant dinners, private receptions, exclusive diplomatic gatherings. She remembered names. She noticed habits. She learned which officials drank too much, who trusted too easily, and who liked to boast after a few glasses of wine. Every conversation became intelligence. Every smile became another step toward her objective. According to several historical accounts, Cynthia eventually developed a close relationship with a senior French diplomat whose position gave him access to highly classified communications. It wasn't simply romance. It was patience. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Then came another extraordinary opportunity. Late one evening, Cynthia gained access to documents British intelligence had been trying to obtain for months. Specialist agents worked through the night photographing secret codebooks and confidential communications before returning everything exactly where it belonged. By morning, nothing appeared missing. The diplomat never realized his country's secrets had already crossed into Allied hands. The intelligence proved enormously valuable. Historians believe operations like these helped Allied naval forces better understand enemy communications during some of the war's most dangerous years. Inside MI6, Cynthia's reputation reached legendary status. Some officers privately admitted that she was achieving results entire intelligence teams had failed to produce. But remarkable success came with enormous danger. Rumors had begun circulating inside diplomatic circles. Someone, somewhere, was leaking secrets. Security tightened. Embassies increased surveillance. Officials became more cautious. For the first time, Cynthia sensed something had changed. One careless mistake, one suspicious glance, one unexpected visitor could expose everything. And if her identity were uncovered, diplomatic immunity wouldn't save her. She wouldn't simply be arrested. She could be executed as a spy. Yet despite the growing danger, her most daring mission was still ahead. The operation that would cement her place among the most extraordinary female spies of World War II. By now, Cynthia had become far more than a socialite attending glamorous diplomatic receptions. She had become one of Britain's most trusted undercover assets. Yet the war was entering a darker phase. German U-boats were sinking Allied ships at an alarming rate. Every convoy crossing the Atlantic risked destruction. Every delay meant fewer supplies reaching Europe. Military commanders desperately needed accurate intelligence, and fast. Behind closed doors, British intelligence continued relying on one woman who could go where almost no one else could. But success came at a personal cost. Living two lives became exhausting. Every conversation had to sound genuine. Every smile had to feel natural. Every relationship carried a hidden purpose. One mistake could destroy everything. Unlike many spies, Cynthia couldn't simply disappear if something went wrong. She was well known in diplomatic circles. People remembered her face. That made every mission even more dangerous. During these years, her personal life also grew increasingly complicated. Her marriage to Arthur Pack had largely broken down under the strain of war and long separations. At the same time, historical records describe her developing a close relationship with French naval press officer Charles Bruce. Their relationship became deeply personal, but it also placed her closer than ever to information Britain desperately wanted. The line between genuine emotion and intelligence work became almost impossible to separate. Was she falling in love? Or completing another mission? Perhaps only Cynthia herself ever knew. Despite constant danger, she continued helping Allied intelligence obtain valuable military information during some of the war's most critical years. Then, the war finally ended. Cities celebrated. Soldiers returned home. Secret operations quietly disappeared into classified archives. Unlike generals and politicians, spies received no victory parades, no medals in public, no cheering crowds. Most of their greatest achievements remained locked inside government files for decades. Cynthia stepped away from the world of espionage. To the public, she simply became another woman rebuilding her life after the war. Very few people knew how many risks she had taken. Even fewer understood how many operations would likely have failed without her courage, intelligence, and extraordinary ability to gain trust. Amy Elizabeth Thorpe, known to British intelligence as Cynthia, died in 1963. For years, much of her work remained classified. Only later did historians begin uncovering the remarkable role she had played in Allied intelligence during World War II. Some have praised her as one of Britain's most effective wartime agents. Others continue to debate the ethics of the methods she used. But one fact remains undeniable. She proved that wars are not won only by soldiers carrying rifles. Sometimes, history changes because one woman walks into a room, earns someone's trust, and quietly walks out carrying secrets powerful enough to influence the course of a world war. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden chapter of history, subscribe for more true stories of legendary women, secret missions, and the remarkable people who changed the world from the shadows.